I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated. I also want an opportunity here to clarify comments that have been misconstrued that I somehow don't support women in the military. Some of our greatest warriors, our best warriors out there are women.
That is Secretary of Defense nominee Pete Hegsheth talking about women in the military. In this video, I'm going to take a look at Senator Chris Murphy talking on MSNBC about Hegseth. And also, we're going to take a look at Tim Miller, who was recently also talking about him and sort of stuck in a state of disbelief that this kind of a pick could even be considered. Guys, I think we are in a new normal. It's bizarro world, and we're going to just have to recalibrate our brains to be like, well, nobody could possibly support this. Yeah, they will. And I want you guys to take a close look at it, and then I want to hear what you think in the comments.
People still have power right now because if we expose them ahead of time, if we make it very clear what they're going to do, it'll make it a little bit harder for them to get away with it.
And speaking of exposing people and certainly double standards and hypocrisy, let me turn to another pick ahead of Senate confirmation hearings. That is former Fox host Pete Hegsheth, who is up for a very important position, defense secretary. He's been dealing with the repercussions of sexual assault allegations, unpopular opinions about the military. Watch this.
I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated. Our institutions don't have to incentivize that in places where not traditionally, over human history, men in those positions are more capable. I also want an opportunity here to clarify comments that have been misconstrued that I somehow don't support women in the military. Some of our greatest warriors, our best warriors out there are women.
So he's either lying to the American people when he was a host, or he's lying to them now as a nominee. I'm just curious your thoughts on this. How are those lies interpreted by the Senate during the confirmation process?
Well, it speaks to, a broader trend in these picks. President Trump is, picking TV personalities, people that he watches on TV, who are primarily showmen. And what you're seeing is that the act that exists on TV may or may not be true. There may be some things that Pete Hegsheth or Dr. Oz say on TV that they believe. There may be other things that they say simply because it thinks that it will get them ratings. The bigger problem with Hegseth is, this extraordinary litany of abuses against women with alcohol. You combine that with a complete sort of lack of experience in running a bureaucracy this big, combined with backwards views about women in combat, about the role of Muslims in society. And it just seems like a recipe for disaster.
What I'm hearing, the buzz I'm hearing is that there is a lot more where that came from when it comes to the stories about his personal conduct. Obviously he's been accused of sexual assault by a woman at a conservative conference in Monterey. His behavior taking underlings to the strip club here in New Orleans. Maybe that's an okay thing for you and your bros. Definitely an okay thing for you and your bros, by the way. It's New Orleans. But, you're not supposed to take your younger female staff there and then be a total creep and predator with them. That's not okay. So important distinction there when it comes to New Orleans strip club behavior. So anyway, I went off on Pete and on what we think this nomination is, and whether we think Donald Trump's joking or not, whether this is a big prank. Anyway, stick around and you'll get to hear me and Nicole break it down a little deeper for you.
It's definitely not a prank, Tim, right? This is legit the MO, and this is what we can expect from every corner in every position.
Let me show you the current public posture on Hegseth. This is Jason Miller on CNN.
So when it comes to Pete Hegsheth, there aren't any concerns, and we feel very good about his positioning for being confirmed by the Senate. I believe that Pete Hegsheth is ultimately, when he has a chance to present his case, it's going to come across very clearly that he's going to be a great person to lead the DOD and that he didn't do anything wrong.
Do anything wrong. That's why Fox News paid out a settlement. That's why the Monterey Police Department released a 22-page police report. That's why Jane Mayer has a phone ringing off the hook and a deeply sourced, meticulously reported body of reporting about his mismanagement. And frankly, the public drunkenness and the sloppiness with which his own peers and colleagues describe him is really stunning and a real departure from the kinds of folks that Trump seemed to have been attracted to in a first term.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Trump has been attracted to this kind of person the whole time. He didn't think, nobody was letting him get away with it the first time around. You get a Rex Tillerson, you get a Bill Barr. Hardly, these are hardly soft and fuzzy picks. They're establishment picks. They're hard right, old school Republican, military hawk, and oil executive picks, right? But they weren't sexually assaulting women and showing up drunk at work. Right? Those guys would think someone like Pete Hegsheth was nuclear, radioactive. But this is exactly the kind of person that Trump is drawn to because it's good TV.
Yeah, well, he's looking for something different this time. I mean, he's looking for toadies. And I don't know, maybe he's also playing a prank. I don't know. I was just listening to the interviews with Amy. It's like, is this a prank nomination? Like, how can you be serious with this? Like, this is such a preposterous nomination on every count. And you just see him barely be completely unable to answer that substantive question about women in the military walking through the halls. How is this guy going to survive a hearing? This isn't the Fox and Friends couch. There are going to be some tough questions at a hearing about his personal, private behavior, as well as his preparedness for the job, which he doesn't have. Like, he has none.
Well, that's nothing new either. But, some of the women on the committee are going to ask him some pointed, difficult questions. He's going to stammer his way through them and lie. And it's not going to matter. He's going to get confirmed.
And so, look, this is a person who I believe it was Elizabeth Warren who used the word predator in describing him. It's hard to not describe him that way. I mean, you look at the Jane Mayer story, and Amy mentioned his inability to manage money and the fact that he's fired from jobs and leadership roles. That's disqualifying. But also in the personal behavior. Look, I live in New Orleans. If you want to come down to New Orleans and go to a strip club and get up on stage, I think that's questionable behavior and for the head of the DOD, but maybe you can look past that. But he's bringing his young female staff with him to this. He is lecherously creeping on women at conservative conferences. We went over this last time we talked about this, Nicole. Even in his telling of the story from Monterey, he still is drunkenly screaming at a hotel staffer about how he has freedom of speech at 1:30 a.m. and pressuring this woman to have consensual sex with him while he has a child that he had out of wedlock that had just been born. And he's in between two divorces.
Let's go back for 1 second. Maybe this is questionable behavior for the head of the department that we could overlook. No, imagine if it was Obama's appointee in this role. Hell, imagine if it was George W. Bush's appointee in this role. If you would put it in a 2-bit dime store romance novel, people would have said, this is implausible. This doesn't, right? This is real.
Like this guy is just a complete disaster class across the board. There's nothing there. It's not like, what is he? There is no case for him across his personal judgment, his professional record, his career. Imagine. I was thinking today about. Imagine if you're a commanding general. There's a commanding general in Europe in Africa named Daryl Williams, 60-something years old, went to the U.S. Military Academy, career from '83, whole career working up the chain. You're going to report to this guy? This TV show clown that has never done anything in his life? How is that a serious nomination? It isn't.
He's not even a good Fox host. And I want to show you a clip here of, this is from a little while ago, but Pete Hegsheth doing an axe throw where he tosses it. He misses the target. The axe goes completely over the target. And this is in Midtown Manhattan. There is a military band playing behind him, and the axe hits one of the people in the band. So, I don't know how to visually convey it any better than that. You don't have to be evil of intent, although it seems like Trump's gathering people around him who have a fair amount of that too. It's enough to be, dangerously incompetent. Anyway, I'm getting a little hot under the collar here. I want to know what you think in the comments.